Hey everyone, it's Brett Hornby here, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm playing catch up with my Calgary sports content. In the last couple of videos, I recapped some drafts. I recapped the Calgary Stampeders draft, the 2023 both global and national drafts, and then I shifted focus to the Calgary Flames. I did the 2022 NHL Entry Draft, more on the few players that we selected and all the trades that we made to justify why we didn't have as many picks. Well, now it's the 2023 NHL Entry Draft, as the Calgary Flames were a lot busier in selecting players, and we had higher picks because the 2022-23 season did not go as planned, and the Calgary Flames ultimately missed the playoffs. However, I'm still a little late on making these videos as I traditionally make them. So I make them shortly after the draft, so I figure since I'm late, I'm fashionably late again. Now this time I'm wearing the red pedestal jersey, and despite what the internet says, the reverse retro black pedestal jersey, which eventually I'll get around to showing that, actually is more of a reverse of the white, not the red one. But I'm going to say for its time, those pedestal jerseys were awesome, and it was awesome to see it again, and I hope the Calgary Flames still wear the black pedestal jersey in the future. So before I get on my notes and recap the 2023 NHL Entry Draft, the most recent draft, as I'm looking at this just before the start of the 2023-24 regular season. If you want to follow along with this Calgary sports fans journey, just make sure you hit like, subscribe, and I have my other social links down in the description below. So I'm going to say the Calgary Flames were a lot busier in terms of drafting players in this draft as opposed to going all in like we did the season before for 2022, trying to be a contender. Well, the Flames weren't in the contending spot, and I'm going to say the one thing that definitely was needed was both Brad Treliving and Darryl Sutter moving on from the Calgary Flames. So this is the first draft that General Manager Craig Conroy has been the head of, with the new brass, with Dave Nonis as the assistant general manager, and as well special advisor in Jerome McGinley, and then new head coach in Ryan Huska. And I guess I gotta touch upon this as well before I get into it. Just want to acknowledge that part of the brass was Brad Pascal, assistant general manager, but ultimately Chris Snow, he was also a part behind the scenes. I guess he played a role in this draft, but unfortunately he's not going to see these players come to fruition because unfortunately he was fighting ALS that he was originally diagnosed in 2019. It's actually incredible he managed to battle it up to this long, but just last week we lost Chris Snow to, he lost his battle with ALS, so let's acknowledge that, and Snowy's strong, and thanks to his family, and thoughts to his family, friends, and just only can imagine. I mean, he's actually only a year older than me, so I'm 41 and he's 42, and it's just a tough disease to deal with. So gotta throw in Snowy strong, and gotta thank all the work he's done for the Calgary Flames behind the scenes, and thank his family for being open about it and just raise awareness. And he had the experimental treatments as well, because I think when he originally was diagnosed, they gave him 6 to 12 months to live, and he battled for 4 years. So everyone missed Chris Snow and the Flames organization. So both General Manager Brad Treliving and Craig Conroy, they were trying to hold back tears, and actually Brad Treliving, since he went to Toronto to be General Manager, he actually came here, offer his condolences and support as well recently. So I gotta put that in there. So Snowy strong. Anyway, back to the draft at hand. The 2023 draft was held in Nashville this time, the Music City, and I did see that players that were drafted in the first round, I guess they got a record, as Nashville's known as the Music City. and they actually get a transcribe of the general manager calling his name, including Craig Conroy. And who did we draft in the first round? We'll find out. But first overall, this will be known as the Connor Bedard draft, and there's just as much hype around Connor Bedard as Connor McDavid back in 2015 as he went first overall. Centerman to the Chicago Blackhawks, and actually played his hockey with the Regina Pats in the Western Hockey League. So I'll summarize this draft for the Calgary Flames is we had a lot more picks because we didn't trade as many away, and we also drafted a couple teammates and one draft pick. Had quite a journey that ultimately came back to the Calgary Flames, and I'll explain that right there. So all the business out of the way, and had to put the Snowy Strong in. The Calgary Flames, they actually had 6 picks in this draft out of 7 rounds. One draft we traded away, and always explain what happened to those picks. But the Calgary Flames had the first round pick, 16th overall, and then they had a second round pick, 48th overall, and then they had a third round pick, 80th overall, and then they had a fourth round pick, 112th overall, and then they did not have a pick in the 5th round, and touch upon why they did not have a pick in the 5th round. And then they had the pick in the 6th round, 176th overall, and the 7th round pick, 208th overall. All the picks were their own, but the 3rd round pick had quite a journey that we had at first and then ultimately came back to Calgary. So, who we drafted first in the first round for the Calgary Flames, 16th overall? Well, we didn't look too far in terms of where he played his hockey, but the Calgary Flames, 16th overall, we drafted a Slovakian left winger in Samuel Honzik, and he played his hockey here in North America with the Vancouver Giants. So Samuel Honzik, he has a record of Craig Conroy coming to the podium announcing his name. So welcome to the Calgary Flames, Samuel Honzik. So the Flames actually did something and actually got a bit of player on the first day of the draft, as we did not trade away as many picks in this draft. Well, we needed to restock the cupboards. So the next day, the Calgary Flames, since it's a 2-day event for rounds 2 and 7, so the second round, the Calgary Flames are at their 48th overall pick. They drafted the Canadian defenseman and Ethan Morin of the Moncton Wildcats, as he played at the Quebec Major Junior Hockey. I should also throw in that Samuel Honzik actually did sign an entry-level deal with the Calgary Flames, so he's under contract and has made it to the last round of cuts in camp. But he also sustained an injury, and actually, think about it, yeah, he did recently get cut. He actually is getting sent down to the Vancouver Giants, but didn't expect him to be in the lineup this season. But I think it's encouraging that we saw him at development camp and actually played some preseason games. And Ethan Morin also played in training camp as well, and he actually did play a game, I believe. And now, the 3rd round pick, 80th overall, we went to Russia for this pick, as we drafted Russian left winger Andriy Suniev, and he actually also played in North America, this time with the Penticton Bees of the BCHL. Interestingly, the same arena at the South Okanagan Event Center where we have our Young Stars tournament with the Flames, Oilers, Canucks, and Jets, and that's still something I want to do one of these years, to go to Penticton and go to that tournament, but that's where Andriy Suniev played. And then in the 4th round, 112th overall, this time we drafted an American, and actually he is a teammate of Samuel Honzik, as he's a center, and Jaden Lipinski also played for the Vancouver Giants. So Samuel Honzik and Jaden Lipinski, both from Vancouver Giants, are now members of the Calgary Flames, or at least have their properties, so something to watch for in the Western Hockey League. And then we did not have a 5th round pick. So in the 6th round, 176th overall, Calgary went to Russia again. This time we drafted a Russian goalie in Yegor Yegorov. So almost the same name. And he played at the MHC Dynamo Moscow of the Moscow Hockey League, or MHL. I think that's what it means. So we drafted yet another goalie that we have in the system. And then the last pick, 7th round, 208th overall. This time we went to Sweden, and we drafted a defenseman in Axel Herding, and he played his hockey at Rogel BK J20 National. So to recap, the Calgary Flames drafted 6 players in this draft, double from last year when we only drafted 3 players. So in the first round, 16th overall, headlined by left winger Samuel Honzek, Slovakian left winger. He plays at the Vancouver Giants, and he did actually get sent down to the Vancouver Giants fairly late in training camp, so that's good news to see he made that far. He did actually sustain a little bit of an injury in preseason play. And then the second round, 40th overall, we drafted Canadian defenseman Ethan Morin. He's played with the Moncton Wildcats in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League. Third round, 8th overall, we drafted Russian left winger Andriy Suniev. He's played hockey with the Penticton Bees in the BC Hockey League, which is leveled down to the Canadian Hockey League level, Western Hockey League, Ontario Hockey League, Quebec Major Junior Hockey League. It's similar as the Alberta Junior Hockey League. 4th round, 112th overall, we drafted Samuel Honzek's teammate, American center Jaden Lipinski, who's also with the Vancouver Giants of the Western Hockey League. And then in the 6th round, we drafted 176th overall Russian goalie in Igor Yarinov, MHC Demko Moscow of the MHL. And then the last pick, 7th round, 208th overall, and we went to Sweden with defenseman Axel Herding from Rogel BK J20 National. So I'm going to say for this draft class, the fact that Samuel Honzek played some preseason games, he looked like he was still not quite ready yet, but the fact that he already played some preseason games, made it very late in training camp, well, though he's going back to junior, because if you're under 20 in the Canadian Hockey League, actually it's only his other choice was you either play with the Flames, look at him for 9 games. I didn't think he was ready for 9 games, or you send him back to junior. There was no in-between option where he could play for the Wranglers. And that's the only rule they have for the Canadian Hockey League. And then Ethan Morin actually did have a longer look at camp as well. So I'm actually a little more optimistic about this, group of players that we drafted, considering how they look early. I'm going to say a little more optimistic than last year's class, but I'm going to say you can look at that video how I feel about that class. So now the picks that we traded away. Well, I mentioned the 3rd round pick had quite a journey because the Calgary Flames had that pick. But originally we had that pick and it got traded away for a few times because let's fast forward or wind back this pick. Well, this 3rd round pick, 80th overall, we did acquire that pick, or I should say reacquire it, from the New Jersey Devils in the Tyler Toffoli trade. So when we traded Tyler Toffoli, because he said he wasn't willing to commit to long term with the Calgary Flames, we got forward Igor Sharankovich, and he's had a long look at playing on the top line potentially with Jonathan Huberdeau, and as well as Elias Lindholm, looking like he'll be a top 6 forward. And this 3rd round pick, which is Andriy Suniev. But New Jersey had that pick because they acquired it from Columbus for Damon Severson. So Columbus had that pick. And before Columbus had that pick, well, they actually got that pick from Seattle for Oliver Bjorkstrand. And how did Seattle get that pick? Well, Calgary actually originally at the 2022 NHL entry, or deadline I should say, the trade deadline, we traded 3 draft picks for Calle Jarnkrok. So that 3rd round pick in 2023, it was that pick that we traded to Seattle for Calle Jarnkrok. And then Seattle had that pick. And then Seattle traded that pick to the Columbus Blue Jackets to get Damon Severson. Oliver Bjorkstrand. So Seattle traded that pick for Oliver Bjorkstrand. And then Columbus traded that pick to New Jersey for Damon Severson. And then New Jersey, they traded that pick back to Calgary to get Tyler Toffoli when we got Igor Sharankovich. So this pick went from Calgary to Seattle to Columbus to New Jersey and back to Calgary. So what a ride for that draft pick. And then the 5th round pick, keep mentioning Tyler Toffoli. He got mentioned a lot in the last video on the trade, and now in this video, because Calgary actually threw in the 5th round pick in this draft to the Montreal Canadiens. So the Montreal Canadiens had the 144th overall pick, and they drafted Russian goalie in Evgeny Volkin. Not too sure if they're going to look at him to potentially replace Carey Price or Allen as well, as Allen, as it was Evgeny Volkin, and he played for Matomi Hurry of the, it says NHL, which I'm going to say, I think that's the MHL, I meant to say the autocorrect. That was the pick that the Montreal Canadiens got for Tyler Toffoli. So it was only, you could say, one pick we traded away. One pick had quite a ride that we traded away and eventually got back. So we had more picks this time in this draft. However, let's take a look ahead to the 2024 draft, because the Calgary Flames already have 2 picks that have been traded away from the previous regime, potentially 3 draft picks, as the Calgary Flames in 2024, barring any other transactions between now and the 2024 NHL Entry Draft, well, the Calgary Flames will not have their 5th round pick, because that 5th round pick went to the Chicago Blackhawks, because at the 2022 NHL trade deadline, I'm going to say Chicago won this trade, because Ryan Carpenter didn't really pan out, or didn't make of an impact for the Calgary Flames, and didn't play much down the stretch or in the playoffs in 2022. So I'm going to say Chicago won that trade because they got a pick for a body. So Calgary's 5th round pick in 2024, their own pick, is going to Chicago Blackhawks for Ryan Carpenter. And then the 7th round pick, this will finish the Kelly Yonkirk trade, which I'm going to say, looking back, Seattle won that trade because they got, 3 draft picks and then 1 pick that they traded away that eventually came back to Calgary. So I'm going to say Seattle won the trade because Kelly Yonkirk didn't really pan out with the Calgary Flames down the stretch of 2022. And in the playoffs, despite the fact that he played with a couple of his Swedish buddies. So that's the 2 picks that the Calgary Flames won't have next year because we traded away. However, we have a conditional pick in play, and it's the 1st round pick. Calgary might not have the 1st round pick next year, as the Calgary Flames do have a 1st round pick that will be going to the Montreal Canadiens in the Sean Monahan trade, as it was a conditional 1st round pick. It has ties to the 2025 draft mostly, or potentially 2026, because the consensus is that pick that we traded to the Montreal Canadiens is that pick that we traded, or we got from the Florida Panthers in the Matthew Tkachuk trade. But there is a condition that the Montreal Canadiens could get the Calgary Flames 2024 1st round pick if Calgary's pick is between 20 and 32, so we would have to make the playoffs, have a good season for the pick to be in that range. And then Montreal will have the choice to either use that pick or kick the can and defer it till 2025. So there's a conditional pick in play as well. So that's the look ahead in the 2024 draft. So we'll see what happens there. But that could be something to watch out for down the road. And that's as of, this recording, just before the start of the 2023-24 regular season, barring any more trades. And there's going to be trades. And the big question is about, we've been waiting, will there be any trades as the Calgary Flames? Well, we did at least sign Michael Backlund and name him captain, but we still have, the jury's still out on what's happened with Elias Lindholm and Noah Hannafin, or any other pending unrestricted free agents like Chris Tanev or Nikita Zadorov. Lots of names, lots of unknowns at this stage, or are we eventually going to trade Dan Vidar? Because we sent goaltender Dustin Wolf back to the Calgary Rangers because he didn't need to go on waivers. So there might likely be some trades and might be some picks coming this way to recoup that. But that's up to the new general manager in Craig Conroy. So what do you think of the 2023 NHL Entry Draft from the Calgary Flames point of view, and there was no Calgary Hitmen, no Calgary Canucks, no other Calgary local teams that had players that were drafted in the 2023 NHL Entry Draft to also close it out, or going further back, no Dinos or Trojans or Cougars. If any college players, got drafted by some NHL team. So anyway, to close it out, I say if you want to follow along with this Calgary sports fans journey, just make sure you hit like, subscribe, as I mostly do have Calgary sports content on my channel, and been trying to play catch up here and there. Just life and responsibilities just keeps getting in the way, and I also like to do some non-sports content, which I'm trying to do a little more of that, just to keep things interesting and fresh on my channel, because that's what I call following along with this Calgary sports fans journey. And I have my other social media links down in the description below. As well as I want to say thanks for watching. Go Flames go, and I'll see you in the next video. And Snowy strong. We gotta keep Snowy strong as well. So thank you.